Hi everyone. If you're watching the replay, I'm going to wait a couple of minutes for people to arrive. I'm doing this video live on Facebook. I had it scheduled, so I'm just going to give some people a chance to arrive. If you hear noise in the background, I'm just here in Tulum, Mexico, in a nice downtown area or central area. You might hear some vehicles driving by or some dogs barking or some kids playing. And when you arrive, just let me know in the comment section that you're here. I'd love to see that you're here. And I'm going to wait about 5 minutes before I get started, just to let the live video show up on everyone's feed. Hey Alexis, welcome. Again, I'm just going to wait a couple of minutes before I start the content for this video. Just let me know in the comment section, or let me know by a show of likes that you're here. And I'm going to get started very soon. Just letting everyone arrive. Again, if you're just arriving, let me know in the comment section that you're here. I'd love to see that you're here. I've got some notes here that I'm going to be referring back to. I really want to deliver this in the most powerful way that I can. So I've got some notes, and I prepared today and yesterday for this video. And I'm really excited to offer this to you because what I'm sharing, I've never shared publicly before. And it's something that I've shared a lot of this information, but I haven't shared to the level that I'm going to share today. Hey Pamela, welcome. Thank you for being here. And if you're watching the replay, let me know in the comment section as well. If you're watching this on Facebook or if you're watching it on YouTube, I would love for you to let me know in the comment section that you're here. So I can see that you're here and I can connect with you, even though we're not connecting live and even though this is virtual. I would still love to know that you're here. And again, I'm going to get started in just a moment. Hey Tana, welcome. I'm going to get started in just a couple of minutes, just allowing some momentum and some anticipation to be created. And the content I'm going to be sharing here is going to be a little controversial, so just a little trigger warning. Hey Jennifer, welcome. Thanks for being here. Again, if you're just showing up, let me know in the comment section that you're here. Let me know by a show of likes. If you think anyone on your Facebook might benefit from this video, you can share this video right now on your personal profile. Share it to any groups that you think would be beneficial. If you know anyone who you think could value from this video, feel free to share it. I think that the more that we can get this information out there, the better, because I really believe that what I'm going to share with you can transform your life and the lives of the people around you. And I think it has the ability to transform the whole world for those that are open to receive it. So again, just another minute or two, and then I'm going to get started. If you're just arriving, let me know in the comment section that you're here. Show me by show of likes, or if you could just comment something in the comment section. Tana and Jennifer left little hearts. I appreciate that. You can leave a heart if you like, or a smiley face, or a hello, or let me know where you're at in the world and what you're up to today. And just let me know in the comment section that you're here. That way I feel like I'm speaking to a live audience. I see Cassia here, welcome. Nice to see you. Again, we're going to get started in just a minute or so. If you're just joining this live now, again, let me know in the comment section that you're here, or show me by a show of likes. I can see your likes as well when you post them. So, are you someone who has felt judged, abused, or even traumatized by Christianity? Hey Kevin, hey Penny. Have you felt out of place, as if you don't belong in church or in organized religion? And do you desire a relationship with God, Creator, conscious universe, or a higher power in a way that feels right for you? I've got some notes here, so I'm going to be referring back to my notes every so often. Hey Cassia, hey again. So here's what to expect today. So I'm going to tell you the story of how Jesus saved me in the mountains of Cusco, Peru. And it's not going to be the kind of story that you might be thinking it is. I'm going to be telling you about the dozens of experiences I've had channeling Jesus and having Jesus speak through me and tell me about my purpose and my life and how to heal myself from all sorts of childhood pain and trauma. I'm going to be telling you what Jesus told me about Christianity and organized religion and why I was encouraged not to follow those paths. I'm also going to be sharing something called the higher self formula, a secret formula that's been suppressed by the media, the government, the religious, and the education systems for maybe thousands of years or maybe even older. Now, before I start, I just want to say, again, I've got some notes here I'm going to be referring back to, but most importantly, you shouldn't blindly believe anything I'm going to share with you. I encourage you not to blindly believe me. Don't blindly trust me. Don't blindly take anything I say as fact or truth. In fact, I encourage you to question everything. I encourage you to question everything that I'm going to share with you. I encourage you to look deep inside and find a truth that works for you. I believe that truth needs no convincing. It's something that we can feel deep inside. And so I encourage you to take what I'm going to share with you, let it wash over you. As a Kabbalistic student, Billy Phillips says, let the concepts wash over you and decide what works for you. Look inside, feel what resonates for you, and disregard the rest. If it doesn't land for you, if it doesn't resonate with you, if it doesn't make you feel like it supports or encourages or aligns with your truth, then don't listen to it. Just let it go. It was April 2012, and I was at the peak of a mixed martial arts fighting career. I was fighting in front of a hometown crowd, in front of thousands of people, and I was the main event at an MMA event for my 16th fight. With only 3 seconds left in the first round, I got knocked out cold. I was fighting a world champion Muay Thai fighter, and I was winning the fight right until those last 3 seconds. Then I got knocked out cold. I was out cold for 2 minutes straight. I woke up, I did an interview with the post-fight announcer. I left the cage, I did an interview with a newspaper, and then I was wheeled out into an ambulance in a stretcher, and to this day, I don't remember any of it. I lost more than 30 minutes of my life that day. This event would be one of the first profound events that would eventually lead me to discovering a truth about myself that I believe is so profound that it could transform the entire planet. This experience, this knockout that I experienced, would eventually lead to me opening my consciousness to a higher self, to a higher dimension of reality, to a higher level of consciousness I know to be God, creator, or conscious universe, manifested as a higher self I know to be Yeshua, or Jesus. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about the Jesus that you hear about in Christianity, although that Jesus is a manifestation of the Jesus that I'm going to be sharing with you in this video. This video is about my journey from being an angry, aggressive, controlling, manipulative mixed martial arts fighter to becoming a spiritual healer, a shaman, a medicine person, a coach, and a spiritual teacher. So after this fight in April of 2012, when I got knocked out cold, I started to have an identity crisis. I didn't want to fight mixed martial arts anymore. I was actually scared to get into the cage. And so I started to have this conflict between who I was presenting myself as in the world, this angry, aggressive MMA fighter, and who I really wanted to be, which is somebody that actually wanted to be happy. Now, I'm feeling some emotions going on inside me, so I want to just express those emotions before I begin so I can really make sure that I'm showing up fully vulnerable for you. I'm feeling a little nervous. I'm feeling stressed. I'm feeling a little bit scared to share this truth with you. This truth is my greatest truth, and I've got 3 pages of notes here that I'm going to express to you, and I have no idea how you're going to respond to what I'm sharing with you. If you're somebody that's known me for a long time, this might push you over the edge and say, that's it. I want that guy out of my life. If you're somebody that doesn't know me, this might say, this guy's out of his mind. Who does this guy think he is? This guy's full of it. This guy's full of himself. This guy's all in his ego. This guy's making things up. This guy's looking for attention. I'm worried about all of these different things that you might say. These are stories that are happening in my mind right now. But my heart tells me that this is the thing that I need to do to get to the next level of my own evolution. I need to share the truth with you. I need to share the truth with a live audience in a way that I've never done it before. So after this fight in 2012, after this devastating knockout, this rock bottom experience, I started to get really jealous and controlling in my life. I started to get jealous and controlling in my relationship with my girlfriend at the time. I started to get angry. I started using heavy drugs like cocaine and ecstasy on a regular basis. I started drinking alcohol more than I had before that. And my girlfriend got to the point where she was fed up and she broke up with me. And when she broke up with me, it completely devastated me. I lost my license. I wasn't able to drive anymore. I almost was completely homeless and had to live in a friend's spare bedroom. And I became so devastated by the relationship that I became almost obsessed with the idea of trying to get my girlfriend back. And before I tell you more about that, I want to rewind a little bit and tell you about how things got to this point in my life. In 2006, I was homeless and jobless, sleeping on a friend's couch. My friend was so fed up seeing me struggle that he encouraged me to watch the movie The Secret. So let me know by show of likes if you've watched the movie The Secret before, or let me know in the comment section. He encouraged me to watch the movie The Secret, the movie about the law of attraction. And he said, you have to watch this movie. I know that it's going to change your life. And so I watched the movie and it did change my life. I went home after watching that movie. I didn't have a home yet. When I got a home after watching that movie, I created a bulletin board and I put it up on my wall and used it as a vision board so that I could imagine the things that I wanted in my life. A month or two later, I went to the first ever mixed martial arts event in Nova Scotia. For those of you in Nova Scotia, you might remember what I'm talking about. It was called the Extreme Cage Combat. It was the first mixed martial arts event in the province, the first cage fight in the province. And I was there. I was in the nosebleed section watching this event. And I was thinking to myself, I'm going to be in there someday. Now, I had no idea how I was going to go from where I was to fighting in a cage in front of all of these people. I had been training martial arts for 10 years, but I was not in shape to be a professional mixed martial arts fighter. I was overweight. I was drinking alcohol on a regular basis. I was eating junk food like McDonald's and KFC and all sorts of fast food regularly. But I said to myself, I'm going to be in there someday. I went home after the event to my little apartment, my little tiny bachelor apartment that I finally had after I got off my friend's couch. And I printed off a picture of one of the fighters who were in that event and I put it on my bulletin board and I put a picture of my face over top of his face. I would look at that bulletin board every day and I would say, I'm going to be in there someday. A couple of months after that event, I got an opportunity to fight in my first professional mixed martial arts event, my first professional cage fight. I had 5 weeks notice to get ready for this cage fight. Again, I was overweight. I needed to lose almost 40 pounds to make weight for the fight. And so I started dieting, I started exercising twice a day, I started training on a regular basis, and 5 weeks later, I weighed in and I was at exactly the weight that I needed to be at to fight in this fight. I ended up competing against this 6'3" shredded kickboxer who had more experience fighting than I did. And I won that fight by just 1 point. Now that one win went on to lead to 20 more mixed martial arts fights in my career. I fought on pay-per-view television, I fought for world championships, I fought all over the country, all expenses paid. I fought in boxing, I fought in Muay Thai. I ended up creating an entire career out of this one fight. I went from being homeless and jobless to being on billboards and on television and on the news and on the radio, competing in front of thousands of people. Again, finally, 6 years later, here I am at the peak of my career, my 16th fight, fighting in the same venue that 6 years earlier I was sitting in the nosebleed section and saying, someday I'm going to be there. Well, now I was there, fighting as the main event in the same venue, and the fighter whose pictures I printed off and put on my bulletin board, he was supposed to be the main event, but he didn't pass his medicals, which meant that I got to be the main event. So this same venue and the same fighter who I looked up to, now I was fighting as the main event instead of him in the same venue. And with only 3 seconds left in the first round, I got knocked out cold. Like I said earlier, I became devastated after that fight. I didn't want to fight anymore. I did end up fighting 5 more times and I lost 4 of those fights. Before I even went into the cage, I knew in my mind that I didn't want to be there. And so I subconsciously sabotaged myself so I could get out of there as quickly as I could. I became insecure, controlling, manipulative, jealous in my relationship. My girlfriend broke up with me and it completely devastated me. It sent me down a spiral. I knew that if something didn't change, I would end up homeless again, or worse. I would end up in jail, or who knows what else might happen to me. And so I went back to the movie The Secret, the one about the law of attraction, because I wanted to try to attract my ex-girlfriend back. I wanted to try to attract this relationship that I knew that wasn't good for me. I didn't want to be with this girl anymore. I didn't want to keep dating her, yet I couldn't let her go for some reason. I didn't understand why. So I went back to the movie The Secret, and I watched it over and over and over and over again. Let me know by a show of likes or in the comment section if you've experienced this. if you've gone back to these resources like the Law of Attraction or The Secret and watched them over and over and over again. I wanted to master this subject. I started studying the different people in the movie. I started studying the different people in the movie The Secret, like Joe Vitale and Jack Canfield and Michael Beckwith and Dr. John DeMartini. And I started looking into the practices that got them to where they were in life. I started meditating. I started practicing hypnotism. I started learning about shamanism. I started studying quantum mechanics. I started understanding energy healing and different sources of the law of attraction. Just looking at my notes here again. I started to be able to manifest success in my life, but I couldn't keep the success that I manifested. Let me know if this has happened to you. You put all this work into manifesting what you want, and then you get it, and it slips right through your fingers. This is what kept happening to me over and over and over again. I would manifest success, then it would slip through my fingers. So I went from being almost homeless and jobless again, when I went through this devastating knockout, to creating a very successful nutrition coaching business, to creating a very successful, at first, wellness center, and was able to manifest 2 free cars. I was able to manifest $50,000 donation for my business and a whole lot more. But just as I started to really succeed, things started to get rocky and I started to struggle again. My new girlfriend broke up with me. My new business was starting to go under. My business partner was unhappy with how I was showing up at work. And so things started to slip again. And then in 2015, a shaman came into my life. For those of you who don't know, a shaman, in my perspective, is a medicine person who can help you connect to higher dimensions of your own reality, higher dimensions of your own consciousness. This shaman came into my life and started to teach me about the power of plant medicines. He started to put me through plant medicine ceremonies, like plant medicines like dimethyltryptamine and psilocybin. I started to experience these profound experiences in these ceremonies. He took me so high up in my consciousness that I became everything. I started to understand that I am consciousness. I started to understand that my reality is a reflection of me. I started to understand that what seems to be physical reality is really sort of like a matrix. It's like a holographic matrix. And that my mind, my thoughts, words, and actions affect this holographic matrix. My energy affects my experience of reality. I worked with this shaman a number of times in different ceremonies and started to heal myself on deeper and deeper levels. Then in October of 2015, a man came into my life and started working at my wellness center. While he was working at my wellness center, things were getting really rough. Again, my girlfriend left me, she wouldn't speak to me. My business partner was getting ready to leave me as well. My business was on its way under. We were thousands of dollars in debt. And this man asked me if I had ever heard of magic before. I said, magic, are you talking about like witchcraft, like curses and hexes? And he said, well, that's one kind of magic, but that's not exactly what I'm talking about. I would soon learn that there are 3 types of magic. There's low magic or black magic, which is the magic of curses and hexes, of trying to manipulate others and manipulate the world. But I learned that that magic always comes back to us negatively. Then there's middle magic or gray magic, which is like the law of attraction, like trying to manifest things that I want in my life. But there's a higher level of magic called white magic or high magic, which is the magic of transforming my internal world so my external world changes. It's the magic of as within, so without. And I'll talk more about that a little bit later. This magic is the magic of creating reality from the inside out. It's the magic of creating my world from the inside out. This magician and I went through more than a dozen ceremonies together. He showed me how to connect with the Holy Spirit, how to connect with consciousness, how to connect with unconditional love and draw that energy into me. I worked with him a number of times, and then finally I decided that my wellness center wasn't working. I was thousands of dollars in debt. I decided to close the wellness center and follow my dream to be an entrepreneur, a coach, and a healer. And so 7 months later, I decided to travel to Cusco, Peru in May of 2016 for my first shamanic ayahuasca ceremonies. Well, in Peru for this first ayahuasca retreat, in the first ceremony, nothing happened. I didn't experience any profound visions. I didn't experience any profound healing that I thought that I would experience going to Peru and experiencing this powerful medicine. For those of you who aren't familiar with ayahuasca, it's a plant medicine brewed in the Amazon jungle using 2 specific plants, the ayahuasca vine and another inhibitor. In this particular situation, it was called chacruna. So the ayahuasca vine and the chacruna leaf They're mixed together and brewed for about 8 hours to create a very powerful psychedelic brew known as ayahuasca. Ayahuasca trips can last anywhere between 5 and 6 hours with intense purging, sometimes vomiting, sometimes diarrhea, sometimes crying, sometimes laughing, sometimes screaming. All types of emotional releases happen during this ceremony. I was here in Cusco, Peru for my first time to experience 3 shamanic ayahuasca ceremonies using this plant medicine brew. And in the first ceremony, nothing happened. I just laid there for almost 6 hours with no visions, no massive insights except for just one. I saw the letters, or the words, nurture the roots, come across my consciousness. Nurture the roots. Now, I didn't know what this meant at the time. I didn't understand what nurture the roots meant. So when I woke up the next morning, I was pissed off. I thought I got ripped off. I thought I'd been misled. I thought I was lied to, and that the medicine I was given was weak. So when we had our reflection the next day with the shaman and the organizer, when they came around to me and they asked me, well, how was your experience? I said, well, I'm going to be honest with you. I was really disappointed. I expected something really profound, but I didn't get that. And I'm really I'm feeling concerned about the money and the time that I invested in coming here. The organizer, whose name is Angel, translated to the shaman, who didn't speak English. The shaman, who was from the Amazon jungle, spoke back to Angel. Angel translated the message to the shaman. The shaman said, yes. The shaman said, Mother Ayahuasca doesn't always give you what you want, she gives you what you need. She was preparing your body for tonight's ceremony, but it's very important that you use respectful language when you talk about Mother Ayahuasca because she's always listening. She is a manifestation of the Divine Mother. I thought, whatever. I went to my room and I wrote a letter to Mother Ayahuasca. And it was saying, look, I came here to experience something spectacular. I took that letter up into the mountain behind the retreat center. Again, this is in Sacred Valley, Peru, just outside of Cusco, Peru. I took the letter up into the mountain and I buried it inside of the mountain. And I said, this is what I came here for. That night, we drank the ayahuasca, and I'll tell you, it was profound. As soon as I drank the ayahuasca, the first thing that happened is there were all these little beings around me. And they said, you better get on your hands and knees and surrender, or this is not going to be good for you. You better get on your hands and knees and surrender to this higher power, or else things are going to get very difficult for you. I could feel the seriousness. I could feel that these little beings knew something that I didn't know. So I got on my hands and knees, and I got down and I said, I surrender, I surrender, I surrender. And then finally things started to change. All of a sudden there was this voice whispering in my ear. I knew it to be God, creator, or conscious universe. And it was saying, look at yourself. Do you see what you are? Do you see what you are? And as I looked down at my body, I saw myself transform. First, I became the basic elements of the universe. I became rock and clay. And then I saw myself start to morph and evolve, and I became soil, and then I became vegetation. And then I evolved even more, and I started to become reptilian and amphibian. And then I continued to evolve, and I became primate animals, and then more from there, and I became a human being. And then I kept evolving, and I became angelic. I became these higher dimensional beings. God kept saying, or the Creator kept saying, do you see? Do you see what you are? This life is just one step on the evolutionary path of what you are. You are everything. You are all there is. You are the universe. And then suddenly there were all these angels around me, and they had their hands on me, and they were saying, you have to learn to heal yourself before you can walk amongst the angels. You have to learn to heal yourself before you can walk amongst the angels. Mother Ayahuasca started speaking to me and saying, you have to go to all the ancient sites in the world. You have to go to Machu Picchu. You have to go to Sacsayhuaman. You have to go to El Castillo in Mexico. You have to go to the pyramids in Giza in Egypt. You have to go to all of these ancient sites. She said, you're a shaman, and these shamans are going to tell you that at some point. As this was happening, I was throwing up and throwing up and throwing up, and I spent the last 2 hours of the ceremony on the toilet with diarrhea, throwing up in a bucket at the same time. It was the most humbling experience I'd ever been through in my life. It was so profound that the next 2 days later, I was supposed to have my third ceremony, but it was too intense. I couldn't do it. I decided not to. And I'd always regretted that. I always felt like I was missing something. Finally, the retreat was over. My friend and I flew back to Canada, and when I got home, I had an email in my inbox from a coach I'd reached out to before I went to Peru. This coach was not like your typical coaches. He's not the kind of coach that gives advice. He's not the kind of coach that makes suggestions. What he does is ask you powerful questions and hold space for you to connect with your intuition or your higher self so you can draw your answers down from a higher power. This coach and the coaches he worked with trained in different types of lineages, different types of practices, including A Course in Miracles, and different types of law of attraction work, different types of spiritual systems. And they base their idea, their philosophy around the fact that you are a manifestation of God. You are a manifestation of the creator, of the divine intelligence behind the universe. These coaches started training me, and I've worked with them ever since this time in 2016. They trained me in this profound, powerful type of coaching that I refer to as higher self coaching, because the idea is that I'm connecting you to your higher self and guiding you through the process of getting your answers from a higher power. I don't give you answers from my ego. I help you connect with the truth of what you are inside of you. Now, months went by, and I decided that I needed to go back to Peru because I didn't feel like I got all the answers that I needed. I didn't feel like I got what I was fully looking for. So I decided to go back to Peru to the same retreat center, and this time I was going to bring some clients with me. I brought my best friend, Alen, which some of you already know, and I brought my ex, and I brought some other people with me to this very powerful retreat in Peru. Now, as soon as we got there, I met with the owner of the retreat center. His name is Angel. I told you about an Angel earlier. That's the owner's son. Now, this is the owner. He's in his 60s, and he's been a shaman for his whole life, and he comes from a line of generations of shamans. 30 or more generations of shamans in the Andes Mountains in Cusco, Peru. He's of Inca descent. And while talking to him about his spiritual beliefs, he told me that he's a Christian Buddhist Inca. I didn't get it. I had to ask him, what do you mean? How can you identify as a Christian? I knew that in the 1400s and 1500s, the Spanish came in the name of Christianity and murdered all of the Inca people. They killed all of the Inca leaders. In fact, they beheaded the main leader of the Inca people in the Cusco Square in front of all of his followers and leaders. They destroyed all of the Inca temples and built churches and cathedrals on top of them. I couldn't understand how this profound healer who created this retreat center to share the Inca medicine with others could identify as a Christian. I said, what do you mean? How can you identify as a Christian? How can you identify as a Christian after everything that Christianity has done to the Inca people? How can you identify as a Christian after the Christians destroyed the Inca temples and built churches and cathedrals on top of them? And his only response was, Christ is king. Christ is king. And I didn't understand. What do you mean Christ is king? I don't get it. What do you mean that Christ is king? He said, Christ is king. Now, he made a suggestion for me and the clients that I was with to go to a medicine expo the next day in the Cusco Square. For those of you who have been in Cusco, there's all sorts of different medicine expos and different events that happen in the Cusco Square area. So he suggested that I take my clients to the Cusco Square. And so we did. We went to the next day. We went to the Cusco Square, except the expo was in Spanish. We didn't understand what they were saying. And so the girls that I was with wanted to go to the cathedral. They wanted to go to the Temple of the Society of Jesus Christ, the main cathedral in the Cusco Square. I didn't want to go there. I had a beef against Christianity. I had a beef against how the Christians treated the Inca people, and I did not want to go to this Christian cathedral. So we flipped a coin, and they won. So I had no choice. I had to go to this cathedral. And so we get inside of the cathedral, and as soon as we walk in, there's this big statue of Jesus hanging on a cross, full of blood, looking battered and bruised and dying. And I didn't get it. I said to myself, I don't understand. How can this be a sign of peace, love, and compassion? How can this be a sign of higher consciousness? And so I decided to pray, to ask for the answers. And I prayed and I said, Jesus, I know that you're in my reality for some reason, but you have to help me understand. How am I supposed to connect with this image of the crucifixion? How am I supposed to connect with this image of suffering? And I swear to you, as if a voice was speaking into my ear, it said, let the crucifixion be a reminder of your own crucifixion. Let the crucifixion be a reminder of your journey from suffering and ignorance and forgetfulness to remembering your oneness, to remembering your true nature. Let the crucifixion be a reminder of your own journey. I was so overwhelmed by the experience that I had tears rolling down my face. I was completely baffled by what had just happened. And so we left the cathedral and decided to go for a walking tour. Now in Cusco, there are these people that conduct these free walking tours in the Cusco Square area. And I have a friend named Marco who offers these tours, free walking tours, Peru, if you're ever there. And ask for Marco, he's really amazing at what he does. And we found Marco, and I was with these people, and we said, Marco, we're here to do a tour. And he was so excited to see us because I had so many people with us that he decided to take us on a special tour. And so he got us a tour bus, which is not included with the tour, because this is a free tour, remember. But he found us a tour bus because he was so excited by how many people there were. And he took us on a tour of all of downtown Cusco. And he's taking us to these little medicine shops and these alpaca shops with the special alpaca thread and yarn, alpaca yarn, and how they make these really powerful clothing that actually retains the heat. And then finally Marco said, there's one more thing I want to share with you. And so he took us all the way up to the top of this mountain, and we get to this top of this mountain, and Marco says, okay, we're here. We get out of the tour bus, and you won't believe what I saw in front of me. It was a massive statue of Jesus overlooking Cusco. I thought, what is going on right now? What is going on here? I don't get it. There was Jesus again. So 3 Jesus synchronicities in one 24-hour period. So the next day, my group and I were planned to go on a tour with Brian Forster. Brian Forster has written 22 books on the subject of ancient human technology. He goes to all the ancient sites in the world, like the pyramids of Giza, Machu Picchu, Göbekli Tepe, Sacsayhuaman, El Castillo here in Mexico, Chichen Itza. He goes to all of these ancient sites and he studies the technology that was used to create these sites. Brian Forster said, the technology to create these sites is so profound that researchers and scientists have absolutely no idea how they were created to this day. They have no clue. For example, in the Great Pyramid of Giza, there are 2.3 million blocks. Every block is cut perfectly, like a jigsaw puzzle piece, to fit into the blocks above, below, and around it perfectly without mortar. Every single block is cut uniquely, and the blocks are almost as hard as diamond. Think about that. There's no way that slaves created the pyramids of Giza. They would have to be highly trained experts, architects, precision artists who were able to cut every single block uniquely to click into all the blocks like jigsaw puzzle pieces. Every block on the pyramids of Giza, 2.3 million blocks, are level within a fraction of an inch and pointed to true north within a fraction of a degree. This is profound. Brian said that there's more beneath the pyramids of Giza, more structure beneath the pyramids of Giza than there is above it. There are entire underground cities beneath the pyramids of Giza that have never been discovered. He said there are sites like this all over the world that mainstream history does not tell us about, like Machu Picchu and Sacsayhuaman in Peru. One of the blocks at Sacsayhuaman in Peru is more than 300 tons, and it comes from a rock quarry 45 kilometers away at the bottom of the mountains. Somehow the ancient people were able to take this 300-ton rock to the top of a mountain without straight trees. There weren't even any straight trees in Peru back in these times because straight trees weren't introduced to Peru until around the 1800s when they came from Australia. There's no way that the ancient people were able to roll these blocks up the mountains. And these blocks are cut perfectly with blocks all around them, and they've stood for thousands of years. In fact, Brian says that these sites are thousands of years older than we've been led to believe they are. Maybe 10,000, maybe 20,000, maybe even 30 or 40,000 years old. And I asked Brian, well, why don't people know this? And Brian said, because there's archaeological evidence to suggest that around 11,500 years ago, there was a flood on the earth. And it wiped out civilization at the time. We were far more advanced in history than we are now. We were far more advanced before this flood happened. He said something happened. There might have been solar flares. There might have been a meteor that hit the earth. Something happened and the world flooded for as little as 3 months, except the tops of mountains. They were the only parts that might not have been flooded. So I said, well, where would the people have hidden? And Brian's theory, which coincides with my theory, is that the ancient people may have hid in underground cities like those in the pyramids of Giza or on the tops of mountains like at Machu Picchu. They might have hid out in these ancient sites. And then as the flood subsided, now most of civilization has been completely wiped out. And so there are only a small number of people left that could share the wisdom. A lot of the wisdom I'm going to be sharing with you in this video. I was profoundly moved by this experience, and we stayed with Brian for more than 9 hours and learned all sorts of things about him, or about these ancient sites with him. The next day we went back to Etnica's, the ayahuasca retreat center that I've been to back in May of 2016 before this, and we were getting ready for my 4th and 5th ayahuasca ceremonies. In my 4th ceremony, I drank the ayahuasca again, and it was very similar to the first time I went. Not much happened. Now, there are 2 profound things that happened. The first thing that happened is an image of Jesus went by my face. Now, it wasn't the typical image of Jesus. For those of you who have seen the movie Dogma with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, it was the buddy Jesus that went by me. If you didn't see this movie, this is a highly profane movie about Jesus. It's very blasphemous. It makes fun of Jesus endlessly. And so it's this image of Jesus that comes by me, and I asked Mother Ayahuasca, the spirit of the plant medicine, why is this version of Jesus showing up? She said, because Jesus wants you to connect with him in any way that makes sense to you. Jesus doesn't need you to connect with him in the traditional way, in the typical way that organized religion convinces us that we need to connect with him. So that's why he was showing up with me like this. The next thing that happened is there was a man's face that kept going by over and over and over again. It was this kid that I grew up with in high school and junior high school. His face kept going by, and I didn't understand why. And I kept asking Mother Ayahuasca, why is his face going by? She said, I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to figure it out on your own. Now, growing up, we always knew that this guy was gay. But there was no way that he could admit it, because if he did, he might be beat up, stabbed, or even worse. Where I grew up, you couldn't admit that you were gay in the 90s and the early 2000s. Because if you did, people would beat you up, or they would do really horrible things to you. But we always knew that this guy was gay. And so his face kept floating by, kept floating by, kept floating by, and I couldn't understand what it was. Finally, I realized why I was seeing this face. There were 2 reasons. One, because I saw the guy as attractive. Now, I didn't want to be intimate with him. I didn't want to be sexual with him, but I saw him as attractive. And once I realized that, Mother Ayahuasca said, yes, you see, sexuality is not binary. It's not black or white. It's not gay, bisexual, or straight. It doesn't exist that way. Sexuality exists on a spectrum, like a spectrum of colors. We all exist somewhere on that spectrum. She said, because you can see this man as attractive, you're not perfectly heterosexual, only able to see the feminine gender as attractive. She said, you see, everyone is like this. Nobody is binary. They might convince themselves they are because of their traumas, because of how they were raised, because of the programming, the conditioning they were exposed to as children, but nobody is. She said, you have to share this with the world. Now, the other reason why she kept showing me his face is because the things that I found attractive in him were actually qualities that I also had. We had very similar eyes and very similar lips. So when I looked at him, I saw myself. And so that was what I was attracted to in this man, is I was attracted to a reflection of myself. Mother Ayahuasca wanted me to see that there's beauty in everything, and that when I limit my experience of beauty, I'm limiting my experience of life. The next day, we woke up and I told the shamans, listen, I would like to have enough ayahuasca tonight so I never have to take ayahuasca ever again. At this point, I'd been friends with the owner, I was friends with the staff, I knew the family that owned the retreat center, and they decided that they were going to take care of me. They were going to hook me up with so much ayahuasca so that I never have to take ayahuasca ever again. They gave me a cup of about this much ayahuasca. Now, most people got about this much ayahuasca. I got about this much ayahuasca. They filled the cup right to the top. When the cup came around, I looked at it and I was like, whoa. I was scared. I was really nervous. Even other people in the ceremony looked at the cup and they were like, whoa. They were nervous for me. I drank it. It took me 3, maybe 4 gulps to get it all down. And within a very short period of time, the music happened, so to speak. The first thing that happened is I disappeared. I was no longer Ricky Goodall anymore. I didn't have a memory of my life. I didn't have a body. I didn't realize I was in Peru. I didn't realize that I was in a ceremony. I completely disappeared. I was in total nothingness, total blackness. I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. I was crying out. I was saying, what is this? Where am I? What is this? Where am I? Please, There was no response. Please, please, where am I? What is this? What is this? Absolutely no response. I was so afraid, but I had no idea who I even was. And I was crying out, what is this? Where am I? Where am I? Finally, a voice responds. It's a feminine voice, and she says, what's wrong? I knew it right away to be Mother Ayahuasca, the spirit of the plant medicine. She says, what's wrong? I said, what is this? Where am I? She's laughing now. She says, what's wrong? I thought you wanted to know what it's like to be the creator. She said, I thought you wanted to know what it's like to be God. She said, don't you recognize at this level of your consciousness, you're all there is. There's nothing else for you to experience here. There's nothing else for you to connect with. She said, don't you recognize at this level of your consciousness, you're all there is, all there ever was, and all there ever will be. She said, don't you recognize this life you've created as a Ricky Goodall is the vacation you've given yourself to get away from being all there is, all there ever was, and all there ever will be. So don't you realize all the suffering you experienced in your life, all of the challenges, all the hardships were gifts that you've given yourself to grow and evolve and get away from the truth that you are all there is. I was profoundly moved by this experience, as you can imagine. She said the ancient people never bow down out of fear of their creator. They bow down out of compassion and gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this gift of life. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this gift of relationship and reality and experience. Thank you for this gift of duality. Thank you. Next, the scenery began to change, and she started to show me this symbol, the five-pointed star, the Star of David, the Seal of Solomon, the hexagram, or the tetragrammaton. She said, you have to study this symbol. This symbol is going to unlock the secrets of the universe. It's going to help you understand how to heal yourself. It's going to help you understand how to heal others. It's going to help you show people how to unify the world's major religions. She said, it's going to help you show people how to unify spirituality and science. She said, when you study this symbol, you are going to understand the secrets of the universe. She said, you have to study Hebrew. You have to study the ancient Hebrew systems. You have to study the tree of life. You have to study the Hebrew alphabet. So you have to understand the ancient Hebrew prophecies. They're going to help you understand your purpose. She said, you have been chosen to share a secret philosophy with others. You have been chosen to share a secret doctrine that's going to help you and others lead a revolution that transforms the entire world. She said, you're going to experience in your lifetime a global awakening. Now this is in 2016, before anything that's happening in the world right now was really happening. This is before any of the profound things that were happening on the planet. She said, you have to go to the ancient sites. You have to go to Machu Picchu. You have to go to Sacsayhuaman. You have to go to Chichen Itza in Mexico. You have to go to these ancient sites because they're going to help you understand who you are and what you're really here for. When I left Peru, I was profoundly moved. I decided to start studying. I started studying this symbol and this symbol here, which you may have seen me talk about before. I started studying the pentagram and the hexagram. I started studying Hermetic Kabbalah and Jewish Kabbalah. I started studying alchemy and Gnosticism and Taoism. I started studying Hinduism and Christian mysticism and shamanism. I started studying quantum science. I went through more than 100 coaching sessions with these coaches that had trained in A Course in Miracles and connecting me to my higher self. I went through more than 400 shamanic high magic ceremonies connecting to a higher power, connecting to the Holy Spirit, and drawing down wisdom and information. And in that time, I started channeling a higher power I knew to be God, creator of conscious universe, and Jesus Christ. I started connecting with this higher power. Now at first, it didn't present itself as this. It wasn't until I started to discover some secrets in these ancient systems that have been hidden from our people for thousands of years. I discovered what I know as the higher self formula. And you may have heard me talk about this formula before, and there are some resources in the description of this video that will help you understand it a little more deeply. I started to discover what this symbol really means, and this symbol is the secret of the name of Jesus. It's the secret Yaheshua. It's the secret of the 5 Hebrew letters Yud, He, Shin, Vav, He. There's an ancient philosophy that's been hidden from our people for thousands of years. It's been suppressed by the major world religions. It's been suppressed by the government education and religious systems. It's been suppressed by the mainstream media. This ancient philosophy helps us understand not only that we are the higher self, that we are all Christ-like beings, but it even shows us how to get there. It shows us how to heal ourselves, how to transform our internal world, how to transform our internal trauma and pain so that we can release it all and become our true, authentic, higher self. In April of 2018, now it's been almost 2 years since I've been studying these ancient philosophies, studying these ancient systems, going through this coaching work, going through these shamanic healing ceremonies. And then in April of 2018, I had a profound experience in a ceremony. I had a memory come up of being sexually abused when I was 3 years old. The memory was so heartbreaking that it created all of this pain inside of my body. It manifested symptoms of complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Suddenly I went from being outgoing, an entrepreneur, connecting with other people in the world, to being locked in a bedroom, shying away from the world, unable to communicate in relationships, unable to show up in my engagement at the time, to show up for my clients, to show up for the rest of the world. I started having symptoms of hypervigilance, of depression, of suicidal thoughts. I wasn't able to even leave my house to go get groceries or to go to the gym. I was completely locked up in a prison of my own making. I was living outside of the city, performing healing on myself every single day to try to get rid of this poison that was just released in my body when I brought up these memories and didn't know how to process them. I decided that I needed help, and so I went back to Peru in August of 2018 for my 6th and my 7th ayahuasca ceremonies. In my first ceremony, I drank the ayahuasca again, and Mother Ayahuasca said to me, "What are you here for?" I said, "I want to heal. Please help me heal. Please help me heal this pain that I'm feeling inside." She said, "I already showed you how to heal yourself. You have to surrender into what you are. You have to surrender into your purpose." And then she started showing me that symbol once again. She said, "You have to understand this symbol. You have to understand what this symbol means, and you have to share it with others." I said, I understand, you've shown me. And she said, "Well, then you have to express it to the world." The next day I woke up and we did the reflection with the shaman, and I told the shaman this. Now you might remember earlier I told you that in my first ayahuasca ceremony back in May of 2016, or my second ayahuasca ceremony rather, Mother Ayahuasca told me that I was a shaman. I waited for the shamans to tell me and they didn't tell me. I went back in October of 2016 and they didn't tell me again. Now finally in August of 2018, I shared my experiences with the shaman, and his response to me was, "Yes, Mother Ayahuasca told me to tell you that you are a master. You are a doctor. You are a shaman. You are a medicine person. You are a maestro. You're meant to do this work with other people." He said, "Tonight I'm going to sing a special Icaro, a special song, which he called an arcana. I'm going to sing a special arcana to activate your shamanic gifts inside of you so that you can do this work with other people." That night we drank the medicine again, and he came around to me and he started singing this very ominous, weird sounding song. And as he was singing it, he burst into flames and I burst into flames too. This was my initiation. This is my initiation into medicine work. And as he's singing the song to me, I could feel this euphoria, this vibration moving through my whole body. After he left, Mother Ayahuasca told me to give a message to the man that was sitting beside me. At the retreat center, me and another man named Joe were sharing a room together. Joe had been through a lot in his life. He was adopted from a Chinese orphanage, had no idea who his parents were. He grew up to be very wealthy but wasn't happy in his life. He and I were sharing a room together, and in the ceremony we were seated beside each other. Joe was having such a terrifying experience that he had to be taken back to our bedroom. He thought he was going to die. He was in total torturous suffering during the ayahuasca ceremony. Mother Ayahuasca gave me a message and said, "Go give Joe this message." I thought, there's no way I'm giving Joe a message. The shaman tells me that morning that I'm a shaman and now I'm going to go save the day. There's a shaman in there with him. There's a priest in there with him. There's a doctor and a psychologist in there with him. None of them can help him. How am I going to help him? So I told her, no, I'm not giving Joe the message. She said, "You have to give the message to Joe. I'm not giving you anything else until you give him this message." I said to myself, no, I'm not giving it to him. Finally, the doctor comes over to me and asks me, "How are you doing, Ricky? Are you doing okay? Are you having visions? What's your experience like?" And I said, "Well, I'm not having visions anymore, but how's Joe doing?" And she said, "Oh, he's really suffering. He's having a really hard time." I said, "Well, Mother Ayahuasca gave me a message to give to Joe." She said, "Well, you have to give him the message. It's important. You're connected with him. You have to go give him the message." And then she left, and I still didn't give Joe the message. I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel like I had anything to offer. Who am I, a white guy from Canada in Peru. I'm told I'm a shaman that morning. Now I'm going to go save this man. Next, the organizer, Fernanda, came over to me, and she'd been training to become a shaman. And she said, Ricky, are you having visions? What's your experience like? And I said, no, not having any more visions, but how's Joe doing? She said, this is about a half hour later. I said, how's Joe doing? She said, oh, he's really struggling in there. He's really having a hard time. I said, I was given a message for Joe from Mother Ayahuasca. She said, Ricky, you're a master. You're a shaman. You're a doctor. You've been given a message. You have to answer the call. Please go give Joe the message. So I decided, well, I have to answer the call. I got up, I walked into the bedroom, and I said, Joe, Mother Ayahuasca gave me a message for you. Can I give it to you? He said, sure. And I said, a great healer must be greatly healed. A great healer must be greatly healed. And then I left the room, and as I was walking back to the ceremony, I realized the message wasn't really for Joe. It was for me. It was a reminder that the journey that I was on, all the suffering I was experiencing, all the pain I was experiencing was necessary for my purpose, because my purpose is to be a great healer. In order to be a great healer, I must be greatly healed. I broke down into tears and was overwhelmed by emotions and went back to the ceremony. Shortly later, Mother Ayahuasca gave me another message. She said, I want you to go sing to Joe. Now, I didn't want to sing to him. I felt very, very shy and vulnerable about that. She said, you have to go sing to him. I went back in the room. Joe was still suffering, and I said, Joe, Mother Ayahuasca asked me to sing to you. He said, okay. Now, the medicine song that I sang to Joe is 5 Hebrew verses that I channeled from a higher power while studying the Hebrew alphabet and ancient Hebrew systems. These 5 Hebrew verses are Eheye, Yud-He Vav-He, Yaheshua Elohim, Shaddai El-Kai, Adonai Haaretz. Now, I'm not perfect at speaking Hebrew, but these are the words. And what they basically mean, loosely translated, now the Hebrew language is very complex, and I won't pretend to know it all, but Eheye is I am that I am. Yud-He Vav-He is God, creator of conscious universe. Yahweh, Jehovah, the mother, father, son, daughter, fire, air, water, earth. It's the everything. Yaheshua Elohim is the holy child of God, creator, conscious universe. Shaddai El-Kai means the almighty living God, and Haaretz means the Lord God of earth. So I went in and I sang this song to Joe, and he begged me to stop. It was too intense for him. The energy was too profound. And I bowed to him, and as I was leaving, I heard Joe get up and run to the bathroom and purge for the first time that whole ceremony. After he purged, his entire experience changed. He was no longer experiencing the fear of death. He was no longer experiencing the suffering. And that all became because I was willing to answer the call. Now finally, I left the ceremony. I came back to Canada, and I continued to perform this magic ceremonies. I continued to invoke the higher self, which now I knew to be Jesus, Yaheshua, the holy child of God, the child of the Almighty, the child of the Creator, which I know to be my higher self and your higher self. You see, I learned in my studies that the holy guardian angel, the higher self, or the Holy Spirit, is our true, authentic self. Beneath the programming and the conditioning that we received when we are born is who we really are. When we purge that conditioning from our mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical bodies, then we can connect with our consciousness, unify our consciousness, and become one with everything. I continued to perform these invocations. I continued to perform these ceremonies over and over and over again. And then finally, in February of 2020, I performed a ceremony, I'm going too far ahead. Let me backtrack a little bit. In 2019, I channeled a teaching from Jesus, from God, from higher self called The Path. This teaching, which some of you might be familiar with, and if you're not, let me know in the comment section. I'll share a link with you so you can access it absolutely free. I was shared a teaching called The Path of the Pentagram. This teaching helps us transform our mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical bodies to purge them of all of the trauma, all of the pain, all of the misaligned programming that keeps us stuck in our ego, stuck as our lower self, as our false identity. This teaching, you will not find it anywhere else in the world. It came through me from Jesus. It came through me, and I've been following that teaching since 2018, 2019, and now in 2022, and it has transformed my life. In fact, some of you watching this video have been following these teachings as well, and I know that you've experienced the magic. So finally, in February of 2020, I performed a very powerful ceremony with 2 other people. We called this a rebirth ceremony. It was a ceremony invoking the energy of the Holy Spirit, of Jesus. We had bread, we had wine, we had a Jesus candle, we had a gold and a silver candle. We had all of these different offerings to connect with the energy of Jesus. In that ceremony, I rose to such a profound level of consciousness that I knew it to be Christ consciousness. I knew it to be the consciousness of unconditional love, of oneness, of unity. And it wasn't just me that experienced it. The other two people in the ceremony experienced it as well. In fact, it was so profound that this state of consciousness stayed with us for 3 days. We stayed in that state of consciousness for 3 days where we are living in total unconditional love, total oneness, total unity, aware that we were everything in our experience of reality. We were living fully enlightened. And then we started to drift back down. Now, in that ceremony, I was warned of an awakening that's coming on the planet. I was warned of a transformation that's coming. And only 2 weeks later, we were told about COVID in the world. But maybe 3 weeks later, COVID started in the world. This is in February of 2020. So now I'm in COVID isolation lockdown. I'm still performing these ceremonies, still performing this profound work. And in April of 2020, I decided to do a 3-day silent water fast. 3 days of no food, only water, in total silence. The first 2 days were really difficult. And then on the second night, I went to sleep and had a profound dream where Jesus showed up to me. And he said to me, "I am you. We are one. Don't put me above you. Recognize that I am simply an evolved version of you." He is above us in the sense of higher and lower frequencies and vibrations, but not above us as in better than us. In fact, it was Jesus who said, "You will do greater things than I." Jesus said to me, "You and I are one. We are one, and so are all of the rest of the people in the world. I want you to tell them the truth, Ricky. I want you to tell them what I'm teaching you here. You need to share this message with others." So I shared these messages and I recorded videos, but I never really shared it fully. I never shared the truth fully. And then finally in November of 2020, I released an audiobook. You can find that audiobook in the description of this video totally free. It's called The Rise of the Authentic Self, where I tell this whole story over 5 hours, 55 minutes, and 55 seconds to represent the 5 points of this pentagram. I recorded this video and I released it to the world. I told the whole story. I told all about my past. I told about all my experiences that I've been through. But at the time, I was still struggling from cannabis addiction. So when I recorded that audiobook, I released it through the filter of cannabis addiction. And I knew that I had to let that go. I knew that I had to let go of this addiction, but I couldn't do it. Finally, in June of 2021, I decided to move to Costa Rica. I had to leave Canada. I had to get it out of the isolation and what looked to me to be tyrannical measures in the country that I grew up in. I needed to get out of this restriction. I needed to get out of this prison mentality that my country had become. And so I moved from Canada to Costa Rica. And as soon as I got to Costa Rica, I went into a 7-day ayahuasca retreat for 4 more ayahuasca ceremonies. And I remember I told you, Mother Ayahuasca gave me enough ayahuasca so I never had to do it again. Well, I didn't need to do this ayahuasca, but when I went to Costa Rica and I sat with Mother Ayahuasca again, she just continued to remind me, "I've already told you your purpose. There's no more work for us to do, so just enjoy this experience." And then she reminded me of the quote that Jesus said in the Bible, "A prophet is not without honor except in his own country and his own home." I needed to leave my home environment so I could really connect with the truth of what I am. I needed to connect with my true essence. I spent 3 months in Costa Rica performing ceremonies, performing rituals, performing healing on myself. And then finally, I came to Mexico, where I'm at now, and experienced my first Bufo ceremonies. Bufo is 5-MeO-DMT. It's, in my opinion, the most powerful, profound psychedelic substance on the planet. It's not a plant medicine like ayahuasca. It comes from a frog. It comes from a toad. And the medicine is extracted from the toad, and when you smoke it, you go into a profound experience of becoming God, becoming oneness. And my intention for this Bufo ceremony was to heal my addiction to medical cannabis. When I was going through my profound healing, cannabis was very helpful for me. I was prescribed medical cannabis to get through the trauma healing, the PTSD healing that I was going through in 2018. But I knew that I had to let it go. So when I had this Bufo ceremony, it was so profound that when I came out of the ceremony, I felt like I wanted cannabis immediately. And every time I had cannabis after that, I would go back in the Bufo ceremony and it would be terrifying. It's been over 6 months since I've used any cannabis, and I've been completely free of it ever since. From September 2021 until just this month, I didn't have any plant medicine experiences. I was just meditating and practicing breath work and doing my spiritual studies. And I was connecting to higher levels of energy. I was praying to God. I was receiving insight, but I was starting to feel a little disconnected from my purpose. I started to doubt the teachings that I was given. I started to doubt the teachings that I learned about this symbol. I started doubting the teachings I was taught about this symbol. So I decided that it was time to go back in. I went into another ceremony just about 3 weeks ago with a friend using psilocybin mushrooms in a very profound high magic ceremony where I connected with Jesus again. The energy took over my whole body. I could feel it moving through me. And then after the ceremony, I had some challenges come up. So finally, I was given the message again to perform a ceremony this past Easter, to connect with Jesus for Easter, to connect with higher self, to connect with consciousness. And in that ceremony, I experienced a profound possession of the Holy Spirit taking over my body, and Jesus speaking directly to me and saying, it's time for you to share the truth with the world. It's time for you to share the truth in a way you've never shared it before. It's time for you to be very transparent about your beliefs and about the path that you're on. And here is that ultimate truth. I believe that I am becoming Christ consciousness. I believe that I am reaching the same level of consciousness that Jesus Christ reached 2,000 years ago, or the man that we call Jesus Christ. I don't believe that that was his name. I believe that that was a title that he was given because of the level of consciousness he was able to reach. Now, at that time, it was a lot harder to reach this level of consciousness because of the evolution that consciousness is going through. But as I learned from Brian Forster and as I've learned from Graham Hancock, consciousness goes through a cycle of about 24 to 26,000 years, where we go down for 12,000 years, which is where we are right about now, and then we start to climb back up again to a higher level of consciousness. I learned through Graham Hancock and Brian Forster that on or about December 21st, 2012, consciousness shifted, and we started to excel again. We started to excel again, to accelerate to a higher level. We started to ascend back up. Now the good news is we don't have to wait 12,000 years to reach the golden age again. We can reach it up here and in here, because your experience of reality is unique to you. Your whole reality is a reflection of you. So as you get there, you'll notice that other people get there. As you transform your consciousness, you'll notice that other people are transforming their consciousness. In October of 2016, Mother Ayahuasca said that you have been chosen, Ricky. You have been chosen to share a teaching with the world. The teaching of this 6-pointed star. The teaching of this 5-pointed star, because it's a rapid, accelerated way of healing ourselves. It's a rapid, accelerated way of healing our traumas and becoming our true, authentic, higher self. In the description of this video, you can find all sorts of resources, and I'm going to be sharing more and more and more resources as time goes on. You can find a link to an ebook I released just recently called The Ancient Suppressed Science that explains how you are the higher self pretending to be just human. It explains the pentagram. It explains the 6-pointed star. It goes deep into the concept. If you look at my book, The Rise of the Authentic Self, you can hear the whole story. You can hear about how I came to all of this stuff. You can access that stuff absolutely free in the description of this video. And I have a mastermind community called The Pilgrimage of more than 45 people from all over the world who I am taking through this process personally. In fact, some of you watching this video are going through this process with me right now. Now, unfortunately, enrollment for The Pilgrimage is closed right now. We just closed the other day, but if you click the link in the description, you can join the wait list. I'll let you know when enrollment opens again. My ultimate truth is that we can all reach ascension. We can all reach enlightenment, what the shamans call absolute happiness, Christ consciousness. In fact, I've experienced this so profoundly in my life that my life is becoming more Christ consciousness than Ricky's consciousness. My life is becoming more unity consciousness than duality consciousness. And as we transform what's inside of us, what's outside of us changes too. We all have this gift inside of us. We all have this ability, and now is our time. I've been chosen to share a teaching, but it's not the only teaching. You have a teaching right here in your heart, inside of you, that can teach you how to get to this place. Maybe Christianity works for you, it didn't work for me. Maybe following Christ works for you, it worked for me, but not in the traditional way. Maybe it's following Krishna. Maybe it's following the Buddha. There are many paths to the same destination, but they all lead to the same place, which is what I call heaven on earth. It's what I call ascension. It's what I call a state of consciousness known as unconditional love. We all have the ability to get there. There's a powerful principle I call the higher self principle. And that principle is from ancient esoteric systems like Kabbalah, like alchemy, like Gnosticism. And this principle is simply, as above, so below, as within, so without. What that means is that you are a manifestation of God. You are a child of the Creator. You are the Holy Child, and your external world is a reflection of your internal world. The world you see out here is a reflection of the world you carry in here. When you heal and empty your heart, when you face the pain that keeps you stuck in cycles of sabotage and suffering, when you face the darkness that you're afraid to face, you will transmute it and turn it into light. And when you do that, everything will change. The Holy Spirit, God, Creator, or conscious universe will begin to live through you, and you will experience happiness and bliss beyond your wildest dreams. It will allow you to let go of control. It will allow you to let go of needing to know how, where, and why you're experiencing what you're experiencing. And it will let you let go of the pain that keeps you stuck so that you can flow with divinity, flow with the natural flow of life, and experience a miraculous world beyond your wildest dreams. Brothers and sisters, I believe that we are the ones that we have been waiting for. I believe that Christ lives through us, and the second coming is now. The second coming is right here. If you're watching this video, you are part of that movement. You are part of that awakening. You are part of that transformation, and you have a massive purpose in this world. You are the chosen one, and so am I. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. We are Christ consciousness. We are Jesus Christ. We are Yeshua. That is our higher self. That is the true essence of what we are. That's everything that I have to share with you today. I confess Jesus as my Lord and Savior because Jesus helped me understand that Jesus and I are one. We are one. We are one and the same. Jesus wants us to grow beyond his miracles. Jesus wants us to grow beyond what that man 2,000 years ago was able to achieve. Jesus wants us to expand even greater because Jesus, the man, was a manifestation of Jesus or Yeshua, the higher self, the true essence that exists inside of all of us. So I have some favors to ask you. First of all, please share this video. Hopefully it won't get taken down. Hopefully it won't get suppressed or censored. Share this video with as many people as you possibly can. Let's get the message out there. Let's help us understand that we have the truth inside of us. Next, please read the ebook in the description of this video. There's no opt-in required. You can click on that link. It will give you access to that PDF. You can download it. You can read the philosophy. I get my students to read that book 8 to 10 times so that they can really fully absorb the concepts. So I encourage you to read it at least 2 to 3 times if you really want to understand this stuff. Draw the symbols in the book, draw them out in a piece of paper, meditate on them, understand them, connect with them yourself. If you have a protractor set, if you have a compass set, use that to draw these symbols as well. Connect with them and understand them, and you will download the concepts into your subconscious mind. And the next thing I ask you to do is please do the deep work. Please do the deep work. Please do the work to heal yourself. I promise you, everything you think is suffering in your life, all of the problems you think you can't get rid of, they can all be healed and transformed. They can all be transmuted. You can connect with the truth of what you are. You can connect with your higher self and create the world that you always imagined. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this video. Thank you for being my witnesses. Thank you for holding space for me. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. I'm so grateful to have you in my circle, to have you in my life. I'm so grateful to have you on this path. I know that we are all changing the world in our own unique ways. We are the chosen ones. We are the ones that we are waiting for, and the best is yet to come. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Please let me know in the comment section, how did this video land for you? Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. Please share it on your Facebook or your social media profile. Please get the message out there. It felt really vulnerable for me to share this, but I believe that I am the chosen one, and I believe that you are too. I believe that I am the Messiah, and I believe that you are too. I believe that I am Christ, and I believe that you are too. And soon we will experience a reality that reflects that truth if we only have the courage to dream big and to imagine the best for all of us. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you all very soon.